Hello and welcome again to the show. As you know, I am an obnoxious, snobby douchebag, and I review movies. So, I just saw a film called Wreck-It Ralph. This film is being heralded as the greatest kids movie of the year, as well as the greatest video game movie that has ever been made. As if that's hard. In any case, I did see the movie, and yes, I did enjoy it, but not for the simplistic reasons that people keep saying that it's a visual experience, or saying that it's entertaining or humorous. Comedy is dead, my friends. Comedy is dead. No, I enjoyed the film on a much deeper level. Oh, and I suppose I should say spoilers. Most children's films nowadays are either completely plotless or message-oriented. There is usually no middle ground. Either they are something like Hotel Transylvania, which is so devoid of plot or substance that things merely happen without rhyme or reason, or we have How to Train Your Dragon, in which the plot is overdone, cliche, and involves pushing some sort of odd moral on our children's minds. For instance, in How to Train Your Dragon, which was created by the same people who created this movie. The story is about an awkward young boy who feels uncomfortable in his own skin, and feels cut off from the rest of society because he doesn't like to play by its rules, and isn't tough like the other jocks in the Vikings, and eventually is able to convince them all that he has worth because he's able to train a dragon. It's the usual boring high school stereotype story that every children's film has had since time immemorial. However, in this film, which is definitely plot-oriented, and therefore as a children's film must be message-oriented, the film certainly does have an underlying moral message, but it is far deeper than anything How to Train Your Dragon was able to come up with. Ralph is an analogy for a black man. Ralph is black. Despite being animated as white, he is black. Why do I say this? Well, he is a person. In the society of Wreck-It Ralph, we see that video game characters are programmed by their creators to fit into certain realms of society. Certain specific areas of society are programmed for certain people, certain roles in that society, and no one is allowed to break out of those roles. For instance, in Simply Fix-It Felix Jr., we have the townspeople and Fix-It Felix Jr. himself on the top floor of the building, whereas we have Ralph living in a junkyard. The people on the top floor of the building are the aristocrats, the Russian Tsar, if you were, whereas Wreck-It Ralph himself is the underclass, the outcast, if you will, forced to live in garbage and mistrusted by everyone he sees. He is regarded as poor and is often chosen for seemingly random spot checks. This sounding like social commentary yet? Anyway. So, Ralph continues through his daily life being persecuted by the white man. In fact, one could even argue that since Wreck-It Ralph is based on the character of Donkey Kong, and Donkey Kong is an ape, and one of the most frequently used racist slurs for black people back in the day was, well, I'm sure you can make the connection. Regardless, Wreck-It Ralph continues through his sad life of being pushed into the box that society would have him fit into, much like the black man of today is forced to fit into a box that society has made for him. The film is trying to point out the fact that in society, race is defined not by the color of one's skin, but by the stigma one places on the color of one's skin. A person who is born black is not born with a love of basketball or rap, but they are expected to love basketball and rap, and therefore they grow to love basketball and rap. A white person is not born with a love of Coldplay or being rich. They are simply raised with the expectation of loving Coldplay and being rich, and therefore they often are and do become so. Society has certain boxes that they force people into, and the video game society is no different. The heroes have their money, their gold coins, their alcohol, and their parties and cake, whereas Ralph and other video game villains are forced to continue to do their everyday tasks, being villains, being chastised for their efforts, giving it their all, being an integral part of the world that they all live in, while at the same time being forced to be an outcast in society. So Ralph decides to break out of the game. He decides to buck the system. He decides to not be what society has said that he must be, and instead go into hero's duty. Here we meet another character with an interesting take on this particular metaphor. We meet this female commander of whatever space corps these characters are involved in, and she is also being forced into a certain stereotype in society. She has been given a tragic backstory to make her character seem tougher. At one point during the film, it appears that Fix-It Felix Jr. himself may start a romantic relationship with his character, referring to her as a dynamite gal. However, it turns out that this is the exact phrase that used to be used all the time by her former fiancé, the one who was eaten by an evil space bug and caused her to become rock hard and have to kill bugs all the time. Of course, if we really analyze this scene, we see that this is all part of the underlying subtext of the film. After all, what is the likelihood, if you're playing the game Call of Duty, that someone's going to use an outdated phrase like dynamite gal? No one says that anymore. It's so passé, dynamite gal. There's no way that a character like that would ever call her a dynamite gal. However, the programming in the character's mind is so well imprinted that when she finds herself growing attracted to anyone, whatever they're doing, she is able to assimilate something of their personality or of their person and place it on the fake fiancé that she never had, since she was programmed with those memories and those memories never actually happened. She simply assimilates whatever anyone tells her about themselves that she's attracted to and relates it back to the fiancé that she has never had, so that she can rebuff their advances and never go outside of her own programming. She has been so effectively brainwashed and programmed that she can never, ever break out of her own programming. She can't have a feminine side as much as she wants to, because she must remain the macho female. That is what her programming says she must always be, therefore she must always be it. Just as Wreck-It Ralph's programming says he must always be the villain, therefore he must be it. His very act of trying to break out of his social conformity causes the entire world around him to start breaking apart. People start accusing him of being a radical or a turbo. The game that he is a part of starts to fall apart simply because he tried to break free, much as some people claim that people of lower economic status trying to climb the social and economic ladder actually hurts the economic status of the country as a whole. In the end, Wreck-It Ralph discovers himself in the world of Sugar Rush, as I mentioned before, a Mario Kart-inspired game. He meets up with a racer who is called a glitch in the game. She is persecuted for being different. She is told that she was never supposed to exist, that she should never have been born, that she was an accident. I don't even have to say anything to make that sound like social commentary, do I? Regardless, Ralph and this small child, played by Sarah Silverman, decide to team up to try and get what they both want. To win her the race, and to get back Wreck-It Ralph's medal, which was stolen from him. At one point during the film, the Sarah Silverman character's cart is wrecked, and Wreck-It Ralph has to take it to Fix-It Felix to be fixed. Fix-It Felix, meanwhile, has been captured and put in the dungeon of the king of the Sugar Rush land. When Wreck-It Ralph breaks in, Fix-It Felix becomes quite cross with him, and begins telling him that he has no idea what it's like to be persecuted. Hashtag first-person problems much. Wreck-It Ralph points out that of course he has every idea what it's like to be persecuted for being different, and furthermore claims that if Fix-It Felix helps him, he will return to his own class and own social confined box in his game, and simply continue to be the person that society has claimed he should be for the good of all. One of the most tragic scenes in cinema history. In the end, it seems that the moral of the film is that you must conform to the places society has placed out for you, as long as you don't actually believe that that is the way you are in your heart. Apparently the filmmakers are trying to tell us that as long as we don't believe anything that anyone says about us in our hearts, we must continue, and can very easily continue, to be exactly what society has told us to be. Unless, of course, we have money. If we have money and royalty and status, then we can rise above our station. But as long as we don't have money, as long as we're still poor, then all we have to do is believe that we are not what people call us, and then just be what people call us, because that is what society wants us to be, so therefore we must be that. The film is a very complex, dark, and intellectual story, and one that I was not expecting going into a film that was so cleverly disguised as a children's film. This has been a Snobbish Douchebag Reviews Wreck-It Ralph. Tune in next week when I review Winnie the Pooh and how it relates to drugs.